OPSG since 2017. And just to give a little brief about One People SG for those of my friends who are not really aware of our existence. Okay, so basically in OPSG, in short form that we call it, okay, we try to nurture a harmonious society through cross-cultural education, both for our youths and also our educators, right? And we do our level best towards building a multiracial society through our programs. And yeah, so this is actually one good example. Usually for our learning journeys, we do a physical one, and that's why we notice this, we actually address as an online experimental. So, but of course, the last 2 years of COVID years has taught that a lot of things could be done via online, via Zoom and all that. So in that aspect, here we are today. So thank you so much once again for allocating your precious 1 hour on a beautiful Saturday morning. Some of you might have sacrificed your precious sleep as well. So we really appreciate that. And just a few house rules before we begin the program officially. So I totally understand most of us here have raised our questions beforehand. So not to worry, most of the questions will be addressed. If at any point of time you have any questions coming up, you can see the chat box below. So please do type out your questions. And during the Q&A session, which will be coming towards the end of the program, we are open to receive as many questions as possible. So please feel free to raise your questions as long as it's sensitive. And we also want to see your beautiful faces and handsome faces so that we know who we are addressing. And yeah, so in that way, I don't see a lot of faces right now. No one is like on their cameras for what I see. But not to worry, still early. But of course, during the Q&A session, we will really encourage everyone to on your cameras, especially during when you have any questions to be raised, right? So with that being said, I think everyone should be clear. So, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the program. So to run this program, I think we're going to welcome. Okay, I see still people coming in. Yeah, okay, warm welcome. So those of you all just join in. Once again, a very good morning. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Mr. Subham Jain, our main presenter from Singapore Jain Religious Society. And can we just welcome Mr. Subham?
Hi, Jai Jinendra everyone. Let me also share my screen. Okay, so let me just start by greeting all of you. Jai Jinendra. Now, what is, if should I wait for people to on their cameras or we should just continue? Karthik, should I wait or we just continue?
Okay, for the rest of us guys, we really appreciate if you can on our cameras, if it's possible, of course. And yeah, with that being said, I think while we are still waiting for people to on the cameras, the Subham, I think we can still start off, yeah.
Okay. So folks, today we will understand the concepts of Jainism, the principles of Jainism, and the journey, history, and a lot of things. Hopefully it is a very enlightening session for all of you. Now, Jai Jinendra, what does Jai Jinendra means? Now, this is a Jain greeting. This is the way how Jain people say hello to each other, right? This is made up of 3 words, Jai, Jina, and Indra. The key word here is Jina. What is actually Jina? That is the very, very important word for you to understand. In fact, that is very important for the entire journey of Jainism. Now, Jina for us is a person who has conquered all the inner passions like ego, pride, anger, greed. Also, he has attained enlightenment. Enlightenment is what? Enlightenment is basically attaining the supreme knowledge, or what we call as Keval Gyan in Jainism. We call it as Keval Gyan. There are multiple levels of knowledge that Jainism talks about. The supreme knowledge is Keval Gyan. So a Jina is a person who has conquered all the inner passions, attained enlightenment. We'll touch upon all these things as we go across the presentation. Also, he has conquered his own 5 senses. We all have 5 senses, don't we? Right? Now, if for example, imagine a day without eating food. I mean, it is difficult for normal people to believe that people can live without food for a day, 2 day, 10 days, a month, or year or more. This is what jinnahs have done. They have fasted for years, months, and days altogether by conquering over their taste, about conquering over their senses and everything. So a person who has conquered all the inner passions, ego, anger, pride, greed, all the senses, and attained supreme knowledge is a jinnah for us. He is like a god to us. So we bow down to him. So the word Jai Jinendra means we bow down to the jinnah. We bow down to the jinnah. And this is a Jain way of greeting each other. So when we meet each other, we don't say hello, we say Jai Jinendra. Right? Now, in this, hopefully in the next hour journey, we'll discuss about Jainism, the principles of Jainism, and some background of Jainism in Singapore. Now, this is, as we discussed, what is Jain is derived from a Sanskrit word Jinnah. We just discussed Jinnah, right? A person who has conquered the inner passions, a person who has acquired the supreme knowledge. Now, what does exactly supreme knowledge mean? Right? I mean, what exactly is it? Jainism talks about many life forms. 8.4 million species of life forms exist as per Jainism. And if there is a person who can see past, present, future of all these life forms, he can read through the mind. He can understand, comprehend the entire reality of the universe. That can only happen once he has attained a supreme knowledge. That is what enlightenment is. So, and there is a process of how you go about it. We'll probably discuss as we go across in the next 1 hour or so. But the one who has conquered inner passions, self-realized, is a jinnah. Now, there is a small difference between jinnah and a tirthankar. A tirthankar, if you see a photo here in the middle, this is a photo of Lord Mahavir giving sermons to people, right? Once he has attained Keval Gyan, or the supreme knowledge. Now, what is the difference between jinnah and a tirthankar? A tirthankar is a jinnah who also forms a bridge. He lays down a path for normal people like you and me to understand the realities of life. He forms a fourfold order of Shravika, monks and nuns and householders. He forms a fourfold orders, lays down all the principles, teaches them the principles, and also how to get out of the cycle of life and death, how to bridge out of this samsara. That is what Tirthankar is. He establishes the Tirth. So he's not only conquered inner passion, achieved the knowledge, but he's also imparting the knowledge, helping everyone to go past that bridge. We are all stuck in samsara. You, I, our souls have been stuck here from eternity. We have taken multiple births as per Jainism. In some births we were plants, we were animals. We might have been in hell, might have been in heaven, but we are all stuck in this samsara. Our soul is engulfed in karmic atoms and we are not able to come out of it. We are all stuck here. So the Tirthankar shows us the path how we can get rid of all this, get out of the samsara, attain moksha, and never come back in the cycle of life and death. That is what Tirthankar is. Now, this is a very beautiful chart. This is the Jain chart, a concept of time cycle, the wheel of time chakra. Now, very important for you to understand. Can you see 6 parts here in the first half? Can you see a circle, right? And in the circle, there are 6 parts to the circle. Now, what Jainism says that on our planet, now first of all, we are talking about our planet Earth. Jainism also believes in life in other planets. Jainism, it is so much detailed in Jain agams and books that it is difficult for me to explain you in a very short span of time. But on our planet, what we say in Jainism is that the universe begins and has 6 parts of a time cycle. This one is the first ara. Let me see if I can annotate. This one is the first ara. This is the second ara. This is the third ara. Okay, and so on and so forth. This is where we are right now. This is where we are right now. At the beginning of the 5th ara, or the 5th part of the time cycle. This is exactly where we are. Now these, can you see words like susam, 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 then dusam? What do they mean? Susam actually means happiness. Dusam means sadness. So in this order of time cycle, as we progress, there was tremendous happiness out here in this part of the time cycle. Tremendous happiness. Right? As we go across the time cycle, slowly the pain quotient has increased or increasing, and we are currently here. Lord Mahavira got nirvana here 3.5 years after the fourth ara. Now this is a very beautiful ara. Fourth ara is very, very important as per Jainism, because this is the only time on our planet Earth where people can attain moksha or nirvana. In most of the other time cycles or other parts of time cycle, there is lot of happiness here. There is reduction of happiness, but still very, very happy. And there are a lot of other details of how people used to live, how people would get their wishes fulfilled about these parts of the time cycle. But now that we are in this part of the time cycle, which is the fifth ara, remember friends, this is a time where our souls cannot attain moksha. But we all can progress towards it. So Jainism talks about two very important things about moksha. One, who can attain moksha and when can they attain moksha? Who can attain moksha? It's only the humans who can attain moksha. It's only humans. Even though Jainism talks about life in every form, plants, animals, hell, heaven, everywhere, but it is only the human life which is capable of attaining moksha. And which is why the importance of human life, friends. On our planet, the second important thing is at what time can we attain moksha. So this fifth ara is 21,000 years long. Then will come the sixth ara. Then the new time cycle will start, where it will start with sixth, fifth, fourth. This is where the Tirthankars will again come on this planet Earth in the next half of the cycle. So we have you can imagine our souls have gone through multiple times these time cycles. We are still stuck in the samsara. Everybody knows death is inevitable, isn't it? We all will die one day. But we have to make progress towards attaining moksha. So in interest of time, I know these things we can discuss for very, very long, and there are so many things that I would like to discuss, but in interest of time, let us first cover the basic concepts and then we can take the Q&A as and when they come. Now this is the time cycle, just to give you a context of when Jainism started. Okay, this is the time of Jesus Christ. Right? Now Lord Mahavira was born 599 BC, or almost 600 before Jesus Christ. Now most people believe that this is when Jainism started. But let me tell you friends, Lord Mahavira was the 24th Tirthankar for us. 24th Tirthankar in this time cycle. There have been 23 other Tirthankars who have come before him in this time cycle. Now Jainism believes that life has existed forever. From minus infinity, it has always existed. We go through different time cycles. Universe starts, life starts, and then there is a time at the end of sixth ara when the time is so bad that life almost ends, and then it again restarts and rebuilds. So Jainism believes that universe has existed forever, life has existed forever. In this time cycle, Lord Mahavira was our 24th Tirthankar. You can see that Abraham was here. You can see that Islam was started 570 AD. So you can understand how historic and ancient this religion is. Lord Parshnath, who was our 23rd Tirthankar, was around 900 years before Jesus Christ. We find lot of historical evidence about Lord Mahavira, Lord Parshnatha, Lord Nebinath, who is our 22nd Tirthankar, in historical manuscripts, and lot of historical evidence is available. And there were 21 Tirthankars before these. And the time cycle that we showed you, the fifth ara I told you was 21,000 years, sixth ara is also 21,000 years. The first, second, and third aras are almost like million and billions of years long in their time horizon. So we are really talking about a very, very ancient principle which has been existing way, way before the prehistoric times as the modern scientists understand today. Now, this is about Lord Mahavira. He is our Tirthankar god, the 24th Tirthankar, whom we all bow down to. He is our Jinnah. He was born, as I said, 600 years before Jesus Christ. At the age of 30, until the age of 30, he was a householder like you and me. But obviously he was born with some special knowledge to start with. But there are many Jain agams written on his life history. In fact, I have a few here as well. But in this life, at the age of 30, he left home and became a monk. At the age of 30, he became a monk. And for 12 years, this phase, 12 years, he did lot of meditation, lot of what we call as tapasya, fasting. There were many months altogether where he would not take even a grain of food. Jain fast is a very strict fast, friends. When we fast, even today, you will see, and even in fact in our SGRS society also, every year when we have our functions, hundreds of people will come and they will do fast. And the Jain fast, we take only boiled water until the sunset. No grain of a single grain of food goes in. So Lord Mahavira fasted for months altogether, 6 months altogether, in a row, without taking a grain of food. This was his process of getting rid of his karmas. See, the beautiful concept in Jainism is nobody is above karma. What is karma? What you do, you attach karmas to your soul. And nobody is above that concept of karma, not even Lord Mahavir. So whatever karmas you have done, you have to get rid of those. These 12 years of Lord Mahavira's life were the years where he was doing lot of penance, lot of tapasya, lot of meditation, lot of fasting, and was getting rid of the accumulated karmas of many previous births. At the age of 42, he attained what we call as enlightenment. This is very important. Now, enlightenment, as we discussed in the previous slides, is basically when you attain supreme knowledge, or Keval Gyan as we call it in Jainism. At the age of 42, he attained Keval Gyan. Supreme knowledge. He could see past, present, future of every living being. What is going in your mind. And see, imagine the universe is so big, right? It's not just one planet. There are millions of life forms spread across universe. There are microorganisms which you can't see. See, the beauty of Jainism, I'll tell you, a lot of these agams and manuscripts were written thousands of years ago. They were talking about single cell organisms. They were talking about atoms or parmanu. All of this is written in the books which were written thousands of years ago. And the modern science obviously has discovered them, but let's say only in the last few hundred years. Can you believe it? Only 100 years ago, I'm not talking about a very long time frame, only 100 years ago, when Einstein was preaching his theory of relativity, an Indian scientist called Jagdish Chandra Bose, for the first time ever, realized that there is life in plants. Only 100 years, 1906, maybe 115, 20 years ago. Jainism has been talking about this forever. This has been written in books thousands of years ago. So imagine what enlightenment means. When you attain supreme knowledge, you can see the past, present, future of every life form. A plant has a soul like you. Animal has a soul like you. That ant has a soul exactly like you. We can be ants in the future. Who knows? So a Tirthankar, once he attains enlightenment, he is able to see everything that is going around in the universe. Past, present, future, and everything. At the age of 72, Lord Mahavira attained nirvana. Now, what is nirvana? There is a difference between nirvana and enlightenment. Nirvana is basically attaining moksha. Once you attain nirvana, you never come back to this cycle of life and death. Never come back to this cycle of life and death. Your soul, I'll show you a map of universe, because Jainism has, it's so much details about geography as well. There are books written about the shape of universe. Now imagine, science has not really talked about it, but Jain books talks about the shape of the universe, size of the universe, the dimension of the entire universe, right? So there is a place at the top of universe. We'll come to that later on. But post nirvana is a stage where you have attained moksha. Your soul lives in a soul form. There is no body form. The soul still exists. That is a very beautiful concept. I think it is different from maybe some other phase, possibly. But the soul lives as soul, resides as a place called as Siddhashila, never comes back to life in the human, animal, bird, or any of the other forms. Now, this is a very, very, very interesting very interesting slide. What it says that Lord Mahavira, he attained supreme knowledge, as we all discussed. In supreme knowledge, you get infinite knowledge, infinite energy, infinite bliss, infinite perception. They understand the true nature and ultimate goal of human life. See, I'll tell you a very, very important concept of Jainism. Very, very important concept. Your soul, my soul, everybody else's soul in this universe is actually capable of becoming God themselves. Jainism doesn't believe in a God who has created universe or anything of that sort. We believe that every soul has the capability to elevate itself by shedding karmas and attain godhood. Our God is not a God who has created the universe, who will destroy the universe, but a God with supreme knowledge, infinite perception, infinite bliss, and all of us are capable of becoming gods. It is by shedding the karmas, by understanding the true nature, right? No, you all know that death is a certainty, right? One day, all of us, this entire body will go away one day. It cannot exist. All of us know that. It's a reality of life. But what will continue to exist is our soul. It will continue to exist. Maybe we were possibly animals before this. Maybe we had taken multiple human births before this. But our soul will continue to exist. Now tell me, folks, why is it that we are not able to experience our soul? Have we all encountered this? When we do meditation, it is sometimes difficult even for people to concentrate. Why is it that we are not able to realize and see our soul? See, I'll tell you a very beautiful story. A small one, I know, in interest of time. Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. That mirror is completely dusted. Would you see anything? Possibly no. What if you remove some dirt from that mirror? You will start seeing something. If the entire dirt is gone, you would see it so clear. This is exactly how our soul is right now. Our soul is engulfed with karmic particles all over. How do we get karmic particles? How do they get attached to the soul? I will talk about in the next slide, but let me tell you here, the moment we do any action, there is a karmic particle getting attached to the soul every second. Good or bad, but there is a karmic particle getting attached to our soul. Now imagine if our soul has been in existence for infinite years, we have taken multiple life forms. It must be completely engulfed with karmic atoms. How will we see our soul? That dusted mirror is so dusted that it is difficult for us to see it. Until we remove the dust, only then can we perceive our soul, can we see our soul, can we experience our soul. That is the beautiful concept of karma. That is what Tirthankar Bhagwan achieved and taught all of us to do. And every living being can become God. This is such an important thing. If we work towards it, if we make an effort towards it, we try to reduce and shed our karmas, we all can become gods or Tirthankars. Now let me explain you the karmic theory here a little bit, and then I'll pause to take any questions if you have after this one. Now, we have discussed that our soul has always existed. Maybe we were animal, plant, ant, or any, maybe we could be in hell. Jainism talks about 7 layers of hell, 16 layers of heaven. So we talk about hell, heaven, all life forms that exist, but they are all part of the samsara. They have not attained moksha. Being in heaven today might have to take birth as an animal also next life, depending on what. Now, how is your next life determined? In fact, forget next life. What you are experiencing today, how is it determined? Is there a God somewhere sitting and telling that Shubham should experience this at this moment? No. How are your experiences of life determined? How is your next birth determined? How does it happen? It all hinges on this karmic theory. Now, listen very carefully, because this is a very, very important concept of Jainism. The karmas are created by your actions, words, deeds, and most importantly, thoughts. In Jainism, we talk about a concept of non-violence or ahimsa. We'll come to our principles and concepts as we go along. But in the concept of non-violence, what is very important is not hurting physically any animal, not killing any animal or human or hurting them physically, but also in your thoughts. If the moment I create a bad thought for anyone, if I create a bad thought for Karthik, my soul immediately attaches karmic atoms onto my soul. And believe me, as I told you, if Lord Mahavira cannot escape the karmic cycle, who are we? If you create a bad thought, you attach a karma, we will have to bear the fruits of that karma. It will not go away until we bear. So imagine the day you are talking to somebody, you did some deceit, you did some robbery, you did some deceived somebody, you cheated on somebody, you are attaching karmic, and that karma will come back to you. You will get the same result sooner or later, maybe in an even worse form. Jainism talks about many stories where you have done only a little bit of issue, you created a little bit of deceit, you borrowed some money and never returned back. And it tells us stories where for many years that people was burdened under debt. So it comes back exponentially. Now the karma determines your next life. This current life is determined by your past karma. I am glad that we all are present here. Our soul must have done something phenomenal in the past lives. Otherwise, we would not be here. Our soul must have done some good karmas that we are present here, also able to listen and experience our life as we are. Why could we not have been in hell? We could have been an end getting crushed under a vehicle. So we must have done something. That previous karma has determined your life today. Our karma, thoughts, actions, deeds today are going to determine what we'll do tomorrow and in our next life. Now, what is important is the moment we get rid of this karmic bondage, that is when our journey of enlightenment and nirvana starts. Once we have attained this stage, we don't come back to this cycle. Now, this is a state of pure bliss, only bliss and happiness. This is a state that we all actually aspire to be. This is where moksha is. So for that, what is important? We have to eliminate our karmic bondages. I will come to how we can eliminate, and we can pause here and take any questions if we have before we proceed. Karthik.
Right, thank you, Mr. Shubham. I think it's very interesting to listen to a lot of fine details about Jainism. And what I personally realize is that Hinduism and Jainism share many similarities in their teachings and practices as well. So yeah, and okay. So talking about questions, I think there's one question raised by Mr. Raja. What is Jain's key festival or religious ceremony?
Right.
When it's celebrated?
Perfect. We will. This question will be covered in the later slides. I know we are running short of time, and I'll just fast track a little bit. But this will be covered in the later slides, so I'll just skip this for now.
Okay, sure. I think that's all.
Okay, perfect. Let me just go ahead and
I think someone raised their hand. Just hang on.
Sure.
Mr. Siu Hong Lim, right? You have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, hi, ma'am.
It's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Shaban. Yeah, thanks for the very comprehensive and interesting introduction. May I ask you regarding the soul that you have mentioned? May I know whether the soul for every life, is it the same soul that you start with? That means, is it the same soul that keep on continuing in every life?
Okay.
Or is it a different soul?
Very good question. I really appreciate you taking this question up here. But remember, what is our true self? Our true self is only the soul, and the soul always remains the same. It is the same soul which has been, and that is real you. This body is not real me. My soul is real me, and that is my real existence. My soul, the same soul has been taking births time and again in different body forms. The body can be different, the soul is same. The karmas are attached to that soul, not to the body. Depending on what you do in this life, the karmas attached to the souls keep changing, and that determines what will be your next birth and whether you can attain nirvana or not.
Okay.
Right?
That means every lifetime, the action, the karmic effect that is presented will determine what sort of form you will have in your next life.
Absolutely. Not just the form you'll have in next life, what you will experience in the present life is also determined by your previous karmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
No worries. Thank you so much for taking up.
Thank you.
I understand we are running a bit short of time, so I'll just, maybe I'll try to fast track it a little bit. Now, this beautiful slide, normally I would spend 20 minutes on this slide itself if we were in the SJRS campus, but now I think we don't have that much luxury. But this slide is a very, very interesting slide. This is a Jain logo symbol that you will see everywhere, but what does it depict? This is actually a sign of universe, not just a sign of universe. This is how our actual universe is as per Jainism. They have specified the exact dimension. This is a 3D image which has a 3D figure beyond this, but this is 7 Rajjo in length. This is where the humans live. This part is where the humans live. This is called as the Madhyalok. This is called as the lower level, and these are the upper levels. The upper levels or Urdhav Lok is where the heavens are. There are 16 layers of heaven. This is where hell is. There are 7 layers of hell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 layers of hell. So depending on what karmas you do, you can take a birth in any life form. This is where humans and animals and plants live. This part, which is the middle part. This is the actual depiction of our universe. Now there are 2 symbols here. One is this hand. Can you see this hand? Now this is a hand which is basically telling you to hold. Just give it a thought before you take any action. And what is written here is ahimsa. It's a Hindi Sanskrit word which means non-violence, which is our core principle of Jainism. So before you do any action, you just hold on, wait, think for a moment. You're not causing any violence by thoughts, by actions, because that is going to determine your karmas. Now this thing up here is basically, can you see 4 dots here? Now these 4 dots represent the 4 types of life forms that you can take. This is a human life form, the heavenly life form, the hell, and the animal life form. Now remember friends, all these life forms, including hell and heaven, are still part of the samsara. They are not out there. They have not attained nirvana. This place that you see at the top of the universe is the Siddhashila. This is where our souls would reside once they have attained nirvana. They will not come back to any of these levels. They will not come back in heaven, not in the planets where humans live, not in the hell. This is where the souls will reside, which is the top of the universe, which is called as Siddhashila. Now there are 3 dots here that you can see. These actually are the 3 jewels of Jainism. These are the real concepts of Jainism. They talk about right faith, right conduct, and right knowledge. These are the 3 pillars through which you can actually attain moksha. What does right faith means? Right faith means, what is right knowledge? Okay, let me tell you what is right knowledge first. Right knowledge is knowing, the question that she asked just now, such a beautiful question. That is true knowledge. The moment you know that your soul is different from your body, that is actually the true knowledge. You experience that thing, you firmly believe that thing. That is right knowledge. What is right faith? Once you start unquestionably believing in this concept and the teachings of Jinnah, because there will be many things that you are not able to comprehend today. Only 300 years ago, people thought, what are they talking? Life, there is no life in plants. Maybe people could not comprehend at that time. So we have to have unwavering faith in the concepts of Jinnah's teaching. That is right faith. And what is right conduct? Following them in real life. I should take actions where I am not doing violence, I am not killing ants, I am not thinking bad even by thought. That doing meditation, doing fasting, that is right conduct. So once you combine all these three together, there is a beautiful Jain text called as Tatvarth Sutra. The first slok of that talks about these three things. Samya Gyan Darshan Charitra Moksha Margaha, which means these three are the pillars to attain moksha. And there are such beautiful concepts. I mean, I just rushed through the other part because I hope this is clear. Now this is different Jain sects and the timelines. These are two important main sects of Jainism, Shwetambar and Digambar. There is some difference in the concepts and everything. Around 6 million Jain population exists in the world, mostly in India, 4.5 million in India. We have around 1.5 to 2,000 Jains in Singapore as well. At this time horizon, the 6th century AD is when the Agams were written. The Agams are books like these. They were written in like these. I hope you can see this image. This is the real image of one of transcripts written in the real form. Most of these were written around 5th, 6th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th century AD. So you can see the journey of Jainism. This is where Lord Mahavira was born. This is how at different places the sects were divided into different forms. There is some small changes in the beliefs of different Shwetambars and Digambars, but broadly they take the same concept. Oh God. So now we are talking about 3 A's of Jainism, which is Ahimsa, Anekavantvad and Apahikriya. I'll spend 2 minutes on this and we'll probably have to rush through the other ones. Now Ahimsa, you all know, is a very important concept of non-violence, where we are not going to hurt anyone. We don't eat meat, chicken, fish, egg or anything of that sort. In fact, to the extent that we will not even eat the root vegetables like potato and onion, because they have multiple life forms as per Jainism. So Ahimsa is a concept where we are not hurting physically, not hurting by thought. Aparigraha, which is non-possessiveness, is a concept where I am not desiring to have lot of possessions in my control, to have 5 houses, 2 beautiful cars, I should have this, I should aspire for more. This is not what is the right principle as per Jainism. We should follow aparigraha or non-possessiveness, be contented with what we have, not continuously run after other material possessions. And the third one is Anekantvad. Now this is a very, maybe I'll take 30 seconds to explain this chart. Now there is a very beautiful story around this picture. 6 blind men were taken to an elephant. 6 blind men. Obviously they couldn't see. They were asked to touch different body parts and tell what are they experiencing. So the person who touched this part, he said, oh, it's a rope you have got me to. You have got me to a rope. The other person who touched the body, he said, oh, this is a wall. I'm touching a wall. This guy who was touching the leg, he said, oh no, this is a pillar. This is a pillar. This guy who touched the ear, he said, no, this is a big fan. See, all these people were true. But the reality is none of them were actually telling the absolute truth. But all of them were true. So in Jainism, we say that we should respect each other's viewpoint, because they are right in their own viewpoint. Maybe it is different from each other, but we should appreciate what they are thinking, what they are perceiving, what they are saying, because that is the truth from their point of view. We should understand everybody else's point of view. That is the concept of Anekantvad. It's such a beautiful concept in Jainism. Now these are the 5 code of conducts, which is, I said, most monks would observe these conducts, which is Ahimsa or non-violence. Second is Satya, which is truthfulness. We should always be honest. These are very important code of conduct. The 5 Mahavrats or 5 main conducts. The third is aste, which is non-stealing. We cannot steal, because this is all things which will attach bad karma. You will be stuck forever in this life form samsara. The fourth is aparigraha or non-possessiveness, we just said, and the fifth is brahmacharya or celibacy. Now, these are the 5 main code of conducts which even as householders will try to observe, because this is a path towards attaining moksha, getting rid of karmas, not accumulating bad karmas anymore. Most monks would follow it 100%. Most householders like me would try to do our best to do it. Now, this is about Jain food. As I said, we are strict vegetarians. Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes completely forbidden. No egg, no meat, no fish. None of these things are allowed as per Jainism, because they all are going to give you bad karmic molecules getting attached to your body and soul. Also, very importantly, we abstain from eating even the root plants or onions and potato and garlic, because as per Jainism, even they contain multiple life forms in them. Multiple life forms. So and these are all single cell beings, right? We can't probably see them, but we would want to avoid even hurting the single cell organisms. So this is about Jain diet. Now, these are some of the forms of worship in Jainism. Just allow me 4-5 more minutes, and before we go to Q&A, there are different. This is actually this idol that you see is actually installed in our SJRS campus on the first floor in Singapore itself. So there are various ways of practicing and forms of worship. One is by doing puja, where we do with saffron, we do with candles and everything. The other is, this is called as the samaik, where for 48 minutes, the women here are doing samaik for 48 minutes. Basically, you go in meditation. Okay, you are basically just regretting the deeds that you have done in the past. And you're also meditating on your soul, reading scriptures, the Jain texts. So this is another form of worship. We can also do a 108 bead mala of Namokar mantra, which is our main mantra. If you were in campus, I will show you the exact prescription there also. This is doing Pratikaman. Pratikaman is a thing that is basically the gateway to moksha in our view, because this is a 1 hour thing, let's say, where we would, and most people want to do it daily, but at least in some of our major festivals, where we just denounce our prior past karmas which we have done. We feel sorry for it. We apologize with everyone, and then we take a vow not to kind of repeat some of these things again. This is a real picture of Jain monks and nuns. Now, Jain monk and nun, they have no possessions with them, nothing at all. What they carry is just this. Can you see this small broomstick here? This is called as Rajoharan. You know why do they carry this thing? They carry this so that when they are walking or sitting, they clean that place, so that no ant or animal is killed when they are walking or sitting down. All they have is one patra for food, this Rajoharan, and that's about it. This is a picture of our Digambar monks. This is a picture of our Shwetambar monks. In Digambars, they believe in a tradition where even the clothes are not necessary, because they think it is also a form of attachment. So this is the picture of our Sadhvijis or nuns. They have no material belonging other than what you see here. This is some of the pictures of some of our main pilgrim places in India. This is the mountain, the Summit Shikhar, Jharkhand, where 20 out of 24 Tirthankars attained Nirvana. So very, very holy place for us, because this was the place where 20 Tirthankars got moksha from this place. This is another very, very holy place in Gujarat. You walk up 4,000-5,000 steps. This is a 27-kilometer trek, by the way. I mean, in terms of view, we feel it's such a blissful experience for us. This is in Gujarat, both these places. This is the place where 22nd Tirthankar attained Nirvana for us. This is the place where Lord Adinath is believed to have spent a lot of time meditating in Gujarat. And this is the place where Lord Mahavira attained Nirvana, Pavapuri in Bihar. You know, Lord Mahavira and Lord Buddha were at the same time, at the same place, in the same era, in the same state of Bihar, almost at the same time. That's just a fact. So these are the places which are like prominent places of worship for us. Now, this is very quickly about Jainism in Singapore. It's been existing for a very long time. In 1910, the first settlers came in Singapore, following Jainism. It was more constricted in household. There was no real formal place where people could go and worship together, but they were still practicing all these Jain virtues. In 1972, our current SJRS was formed. I mean, if I believe, hope, and I do hope that some of you do get a chance to visit this place. This is our one of the most holy places in Singapore, and all Jains are invited here. Everybody is invited here. Jainism is a principle-based religion. There is no distinction between what you are born or something, because we all have soul. As long as we follow the principles, we can actually follow the path of Jainism. So this is where SJRS was formed, 1972. Then there's a timeline. 2006, Jainism became one of the 10 religions recognized by IRO in Singapore. 2010 is when this current idol that you see today was renovated in 2010 at our campus in SJRS at 18 Jalan Yasin. Now these are some of the prominent festivals. This is probably the last ending couple of slides. Somebody asked a question. Now some of the main festivals of Jains are Mahavir Jayanti. This is where we celebrate the birth of Lord Mahavira. It just only a few weeks ago we were celebrating it together in the Sthana, which is what we call it. Some people do many cultural activities. We have dinner. Some people also fast. So we observe a lot of inner sickness. We come together, and this is some of the pictures from the celebrations a few years ago. Then there's something called as Navpad Oli as well that we do, where there is only one meal a day given in noon without any spices. We call it Ayambil. Okay. So there are different types of fast in Jainism. One fast which says you eat nothing, only boil water only for a few hours during the sun time. The second type of fast is where you are leaving your taste. You are saying you eat a food only one time a day, but that food should have no taste. So it should have no salt, no dairy products, no oil, no spices. For example, plain blend boiled rice, nothing else, for example, right? So that is called as Ayambil. So we do this as well in Jainism, Ayambil fast. Then there is festival which is Diwali, which is also a very popular Hindu festival. For us, this is the day when Lord Mahavira attained Nirvana or Moksha. So we celebrate it in a very, very big fashion. We have our cultural festivals, we do puja, and and we have our gatherings together. These are some of the images that you can see. It's a very, very important festival for us. And the biggest festival for us is Paryushan. Now this will come in end September this year. This is the festival where for 8 days Jains come together. They do a lot of fasting. There are many people who do 8-day fast in Singapore. When you say 8-day fast, for 8 days in a row, they will not eat even a single grain of food. Only a little bit of water during sun time. For 8 days in a row continuously. And there are people who will do 1 day, 3 day, 8-day fast depending on how their body does. But this is the time where Jains come together, do a lot of fasting, depending their previous karmas, trying to get rid of multiple karmas and feeling sorry. And this is one of our biggest festival get together in SJRS. We celebrate it in a very, very beautiful fashion. Now this is some of the images that you would see in Jain's practice. This is Jain Shala. The Jain kids come here in Singapore. They are taught by our beautiful learned teachers. They are imparted values of Jainism. We also do some cultural programs here, and it's a beautiful small little family coming together. Now this is Singapore serving a larger community in Singapore. A lot of social work that Singapore Jain community does. A lot of these events we organize where we do cultural things, where we help the community. A lot of volunteering services, food giving services, a lot of things that Jains as a community have done here in Singapore, and we continue to do that. That's where we come to the end of the slideshow. Jai Jinendra everyone. And I would open this up for any questions that we have for the remaining time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Subham. So I think it was very beneficial for all of us to listen to you and, of course, understand a lot of new things about Jainism. Yes, okay, I think we have a question from Mary. So her question is, to prevent non-violence, she was told that Jain people wear masks and bring brooms and sweep as they walk. So the question is, do you still practice that now, or is it just applicable for monks and nuns?
It's a very good question. No, so strictly speaking, this is what in fact, when I showed you the picture of Jain monk and nuns, they were carrying a broomstick that was called as Rajoharan, right? This stick, that slide that we showed you, and this is what you are talking about. If you see, this is not really a mask. It is not covering the nose, but this is called as Mupatti in Jainism. Why we put this thing? Because, see, I told you the entire concept is about non-violence, not hurting anyone, not even microorganisms. Now there is a lot of microorganisms in the universe, in the air as we speak as well. So when you are talking, you are actually hurting them. So the monks and even householders, when they do the samayik, which I told you about, the meditation, samayik, pratikaman, even the householders would put some of these things, this thing on. Not in, I mean, it is when I'm going to a monk doing meditation, doing pratikaman, I would put as well, but not all the time. But monks and nuns would do it more strictly. Jain householders would try to do it, but not possibly, it is not possible all the time to do it, because we are all part of this worldly cycle where we have our jobs, home, families, everything to take care. But when we are doing special practices, meditation, samayik, going to a priest, we would, when I'm doing Kesar Puja, we would all do all these things.
Thank you, Mr. Shubham. I hope, Mary, that answers your question. Okay, it's almost 11. Before I sum up this entire session, is there any other question from anyone? I mean, you can always type your questions, or you can just raise your hand. We can have a dialogue session with Mr. Shubham. We're more than happy to address your doubts or any questions or any queries. Yeah, so please feel free, guys. This is your only time to raise your questions and to get a better understanding about Jainism, right? And just think that a lot of practices, a lot of beliefs has been like similar to Hinduism, like what I mentioned. So this really amazes me. And of course, not many of us would have been even aware that Jainism exists in Singapore. And some of us might have the perception before this whole session that Jainism could be part of Hinduism, or why do ladies wear scarves, or are they like Muslims? So such thoughts would have been in our mind. But today, after this 1 hour session, I think a lot of us would be having a brand new, fresh knowledge about Jainism. Yeah, okay, so I think we have one more question here. P3 has raised a question. I saw that some of the photos depicts Jain women with bindis. I understand bindi from the Hindu perspective. Do they have the same purpose for Jains? Okay, so this comes to the point where what I just mentioned. Okay, it looks very familiar to what the Hindu bindis wear as well. So, Mr.
So, very good. I mean, it's a good observation and a good question. See, Jainism has evolved in India, so has Hinduism. So, culturally, a lot of these things are common. Doesn't mean it has got anything to do with the principles of Jainism. This is cultural. How we wear saris or we put bindu, it has got nothing to do with Jainism per se. Because Jainism talks about principles of life, attaining moksha, getting rid of karmas, what you should do for that, and anybody can be Jain for that matter. But taking a bindi is a more cultural thing, how people have lived in India. This is the dressing sense there. It's really got not too much to do with Jainism per se. This is, women, maybe it's not specific that because you are Jains you have to do this. Nothing to do with that. It is more cultural, because we are brought up in the same environment. People see each other and then take some practices of each other, but this is not a religious practice.
All right. Okay. I think Fitri, that answers your question. So thank you. Okay, Mary. There's another question from Mary. Why Jain people drink boiled water? Will it kill the microorganisms too?
Okay, no, it's a very, very good question. So, Jainism believes that if you boil the water and then drink it, because there are multiple life forms continuously evolving in water, multiple infinite life forms continuously evolving and generating in water. Now, once you boil the whole concept of Jainism is to try to minimize hurting anybody else in the universe. by thoughts, words, deed, actions. Just don't hurt anyone. Try to minimize that at least. You cannot completely prevent some things. If I am talking, I am definitely hurting some microorganisms right now. I feel so sorry for that. But I cannot avoid some of these things because we are humans, we are in this life. So by boiling water, we are trying to minimize. It will also cause injury to some organism. But once you boil the water, it prevents the continuous birth of multiple microorganisms every now and second. So for some time, and that too we have a very, if you go into details of Jain books and agams, they have give you a lot of details until a few hours that water is actually okay. Otherwise it again becomes like a normal water, because again the organisms will start taking birth and producing in it. So once you boil the water, it reduces the number of microorganisms that you will kill in the process of taking it. That is the whole idea. It is only about reducing. It is not saying that you can avoid it completely. We are just saying we can reduce it by doing this.
Okay. Yes. Before we wrap up, I think Miss Siu Hong Lim, right? She raised the hand. Do you have a question coming from you?
Yeah. I have a question. So sorry, last question.
No, please go ahead.
Go.
I mean, we just love this because I want to give my best for everybody's understanding. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I want to take the opportunity to ask. Regarding that chart about enlightenment of Lord Mahavir and Nirvana. Is it Nirvana?
Yeah, so enlightenment. Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Yes, so I noticed that from the time he left home to enlightenment, it takes about 10 years. But from his enlightenment to his nirvana, he took about 30 years. Why is it
Okay,
that?
I will explain you.
Because he already had the supreme knowledge. So why is it still takes so long to attain the nirvana?
Again, another amazing question, and hopefully it benefits everyone. At the age of 30, he left the worldly life to become a monk. For 12 years, he did a lot of what we call as tapasya, fasting, meditation, shedding his karmas. At the age of 42, which is 12 years of monkhood, he attained the supreme knowledge or the Keval Gyan. Once you attain supreme knowledge, it is for sure that this soul will attain moksha, will never come back in the life form. But after attaining supreme knowledge, you are still in your body form. That is for the next 30 years. This is the time where he imparted his teachings to people. That phase of 30 years was the phase where he was imparting his teaching. He formed the fourfold orders. There were 11 Gandhars under him, or the main students. And then the entire sect was formed. There were hundreds and millions of followers that spread across. He formed the entire fourfold orders. He spread the message of Jainism. Initially it was all carried in oral form, the verbal form. Eventually it got written down in books. But the message was all given by Lord Mahavira in those 30 years. So that 30 years is something I always bow down to the time, because that if that time wouldn't have come, we would not have got these teachings of Jainism, the principles of life. So those 30 years, once he attained the supreme knowledge, he could see everything in the entire universe. He imparted all the knowledge, and that after 30 years, when the time came right, he attained nirvana. Nirvana means getting rid of the body. The soul goes and lives in moksha. That is the state where you are shedding your body and the soul is going. But the gap between enlightenment and nirvana, you are still in your body form. Even though you are supremely powerful, knowledgeable, you are imparting knowledge. By the way, that 12 years is not like everybody should take 12 years to attain Keval Gyan. There are stories where Tirthankars have done it in less time and more time. So this is just Lord Mahavira's time scale. Hope that answers that.
Okay, so I guess a lot of us will still have more questions in our mind, but due to time constraint, we can't really address those questions. But like what you mentioned at the start, right? We are actually open to actually visit your temple, right? So where is it actually located?
It is. We can share the address. It is 18 Jalan Yasin. When you search Singapore Jain Religious Society, you will actually get in Google the first thing, 18 Jalan Yasin around Yunis. So it is something that the moment you search on Google, you will get it. Singapore Jain Religious Society in Jalan Yasin, 18 Jalan Yasin. And I do wish that all of you come at the Sthanak, because the experience, the vibrations, the energy of Sthanak is a completely different thing. I am not doing any justice by speaking here, because I cannot describe in words the vibes and the energy of that place. When you see the surrounding, when you see Lord Mahavira's idol, the effort that Paresh Bhai and so many others have done over so many years, I mean, that experience is something very different. But I hope I have tried to at least give something here to plant that seed and understanding of Jainism.
Definitely, I think all of us have to experience this once for ourselves to, witness what you just mentioned verbally, so that we will know what is it exactly all about, the vibe and the aura and all that. Yeah. Okay. With that being said, I think this past 1 hour has been really beneficial for majority of us, I believe. Okay, can I just encourage all of us to just switch on our cameras for probably a few seconds, so that we can just take a group picture, we can take a group screenshot, right? Yeah, and you guys, let's just do this very quickly. For those of us who are still inside this chat, I would encourage all of us to just switch on our cameras. You don't have to switch on your audio, but just your camera. So once everyone is ready, I'm just gonna give a cue on the timing and we're gonna take a picture. Yeah. Okay, so I think majority of us are here. So let's all smile on my count of 3. Yeah, in 3, 2, 1. Say cheese, everyone. All right, beautiful. One more. All right, in 3, 2, and 1. All right, beautiful. So once again, on behalf of Southwest CDC and OPSG, we'd like to